want to report a wrongful arrest.
You want information adjustments, different department.
I've been to information adjustments.
This month, we are doing Dystopian December. Unlike our previous series on the apocalypse, where we trace films about the apocalypse from A Boy and His Dog and The Quiet Earth all the way through Don't Look Up, dystopian societies do not need to undergo some apocalyptic life-ending or world-ending event. Merriam-Webster simply calls dystopia an imagined world or society in which people lead wretched, dehumanized, or fearful lives. In the age of neoliberal austerity politics, it often feels like the state and society itself can be designed to work as badly as possible. This feeling of hopelessness that many of us feel has led the dystopian fiction genre in literature, TV, and film to thrive for more than 2 centuries. Greed takes over, decline sets in, the corporate and state masters realize war, famine, and industrial decline can be ultimately more profitable for them. Then oppressive mechanisms of control are instituted when people try to rise up and push back. The most recognizable symbols of modern dystopia are generally landscapes of urban decay. Cold, mechanic, impersonal, dehumanized, a promise of a brighter future mediated by technology thwarted, often with the technology used against rather than to benefit the people. The best dystopian stories are a reflection of reality, albeit generally an exaggerated one. 3 of our directors this month also made movies that we covered in Apocalypse Month. Marc Caro and Jean-Pierre Jeunet made Delicatessen, which we covered in Apocalypse Month, and also made City of Lost Children, which we're covering this month. And former Monty Python member turned auteur Terry Gilliam made tonight's film Brazil in 1985, and then 12 Monkeys a decade later, which we covered in Apocalypse Month. I think it's fair to say that Terry Gilliam spent his entire career purposely defying expectations. An outsider, even in the world of British sketch comedy, Terry Gilliam was the only Python member to be born an American citizen before coming to the UK in the 1960s and finally renouncing his citizenship in 2006. Before comedy, Gilliam worked as a magazine photographer and illustrator, and largely stayed behind the camera and in the animator's chair for Python. Terry Gilliam used his drawing ability to animate the transitions between Python sketches, as well as beginning to direct and serve as art director, co-directing Monty Python and the Holy Grail with Terry Jones.
When suddenly, the animator suffered a fatal heart attack.
Art director for Life of Brian, and then directing the short film The Crimson Permanent Assurance before Meaning of Life. I think the mix of banal office grays and suits and magical realism reflects the much larger ideas that Gilliam would explore in Brazil.
The good, loyal men of the Permanent Assurance Company, a once proud family firm, recently fallen on hard times, strained under the yoke of their oppressive new corporate management.
Brazil was his next film after Meaning of Life, when Monty Python had effectively broken up. It stars Jonathan Pryce, Monty Python's Michael Palin, Robert De Niro, Katherine Hellman, Kim Greist, Bob Hoskins, and Ian Holm. The inspiration behind Brazil, although he claims he didn't read it before writing the screenplay, first with his Jabberwocky co-writer Charles Alverson, who was uncredited on the film, then with Sir Tom Stoppard, acclaimed British playwright of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead fame, and Charles McKeown, was George Orwell's 1984. In the early 1980s, the idea of 1984 was everywhere, from the famed Apple ad, to multiple artists with 1984-themed albums, to a film adaptation which was announced and bumped off Terry Gilliam's plan to call Brazil 1984 and a half. Brazil imagines an entire world mediated by giant machines and layers of bureaucracy. All of the forcibly imposed rules, jurisdictional minutiae, paperwork, and red tape, more often than not in Brazil, really just serve to make sure there's layers of justification and plausible deniability for an unaccountable state apparatus.
I only know you got the wrong man. Information transit got the wrong man. I got the right man. The wrong man was delivered to me as the right man. I accepted him on good faith as the right man. Was I wrong?
Rather than ever making anything more safe, orderly, or efficient. We see this happen over and over again in real time, as a misprinting of an arrest warrant at the Department of Records sets off a chain of events, where a shoe repairer is mistaken for a suspected terrorist and freelance heat engineer, arrested by retrieval agents, who then don't have the guy's medical records to know he has a heart problem, killing him during interrogation. The state must then stonewall anyone who has a complaint about the wrongful arrests and death, and eventually liquidate anyone who knows.
No, there's no stamp on it, you see. I can't let you have the form until this is stamped.
Where do I get it stamped?
Information adjustments.
The lack of correct stamps and paperwork are used time and time again to ensure nobody's complaints ever get anywhere. Brazil's version of Winston Smith, Sam Lowry, played by Jonathan Pryce, is a low-level public servant and a minor functionary at the Department of Records. He is extremely efficient there, but knows he might not be able to handle more responsibility or power. A rash of supposed terrorist attacks, small-time bombings, continue to hit random places in the city, which then justifies these sprawling bureaucracies continuing to surveil, arrest, and interrogate anyone who doesn't fit in with society's rules, regulations, and regimen. However, the discontent is brewing when our protagonist goes to sleep. He dreams of flying and saving a damsel in distress who he's never met, but repeatedly sees in his dreams. This throws him into a deeply distressing situation when the girl ends up being the one who keeps trying to complain about an unlawful arrest, and for that, is now seen as an agitator and potential threat to the state.
Everything's connected all along the line. Cause and effect. That's the beauty of it. Our job is to trace the connections and reveal them.
This girl, wanting to know more about her, leads Sam into finally making the decision to join the Ministry of Information, a seemingly federalized intelligence center, as opposed to his much more provincial but comfortable Department of Records. A job being pushed by his powerful mother and where his father worked before he died. These agencies, and then offices within agencies with overlapping jurisdiction and absolutely no communication, sprawl out constantly throughout the film.
The Central Collective Storehouse computer has got him down as deleted.
Hang on.
Information retrieval has got him down as inoperative. And there's another one, security has got him down as excised. Administration has got him down as completed.
He's dead.
The over-regimentation of society and enforced imposition of order is seemingly barely minded by a population who have been lulled into complacency with hyper-consumerist attitudes and a barrage of TV screens for every room, all kinds of plastic surgery and cosmetics, and every type of appliance they can buy. Also a healthy dose of paranoia rather than Big Brother is watching you. We're inundated by signs and banners telling everyone things like, don't suspect a friend, report him, and be safe, be suspicious. Seems like in this deeply degraded society, they're even farming out surveillance to everyday people. It's worth asking the question, would anyone even actually listen if you did report something? There's an inherent absurdity, of course, about having a society that grabs people out of their houses to torture and kill them, and then issues the family a receipt.
Same again, please. Just there. Press harder this time. Good.
What is this all about?
That is your receipt for your husband.
And Sam's unraveling at least partially comes as he actually tries to navigate parts of the system rather than being the one pushing the paper. A repeated, I'm not sure if gag is the right word, but gag is the horrified look on Jonathan Pryce's face as he witnesses a secretary at the Ministry of Information transcribing a torture session.
I'm looking for Officer 412-L.
He won't be very long now.
We also see Sam in the middle of a turf war between the probable terrorist and heat engineer Harry Tuttle, played by De Niro, and the Central Services operator, played by Bob Hoskins. Tuttle is practically the only person we see in this movie who has liberated themselves from the oppressive boot of regulation and paperwork. Something as simple as fixing your own heating system can be too big a challenge to state authority.
Listen, this whole system of yours could be on fire, and I couldn't even turn on a kitchen tap without filling out a 27B/6 bloody paperwork.
A standout performance is Michael Palin, whose perfectly amiable torturer shows a dark side that I'm not sure Monty Python fans get anywhere else. Quintessential Britishness, a small-talking, friendly, even flowery family man who speaks mostly in euphemisms.
Sam, let a friend tell you your life is going wrong. Records is a dead-end department.
Brazil is known for its steampunk or noir of the future aesthetic. The directors Janae and Caro called Terry Gilliam's style here retrofuturism. The controversial final scene pulls back to reveal that the last 20 minutes have been a dream from the broken mind of a Sam Lowry whose mental faculties have been completely broken by torture. Unlike other dystopian epics, Sam Lowry does not escape. There is no alternative. Faced with seeing his state from the other side, he becomes catatonic.
He's got away from us, Jack. Afraid you're right, Mr. Helpman. He's gone.